Tonight, chilling mobile phone vision of a young girl moments before the crash that claimed her life. A manhunt underway for the masked gunman who terrorised service station workers in Sydney's west. Parent-teacher stabbing, the schoolyard attack where a class mother is the suspect. Blaming the drink, Pauline Hanson's candidate steps down over a strip club scandal as the campaign sails past the halfway mark. The Aussie invention beating the power companies at their own game, saving households thousands. And not out, the online post that left cricketer James Faulkner red-faced.
Live from our Sydney headquarters, this is 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. It was to be the last drive of her life, recorded by a passenger and posted to social media. Shania McNeil behind the wheel of her car just before she crashed, killing the 21-year-old. Police are now investigating whether she was veering between cars and if the distraction of the phone camera played a part in the accident.
The final chilling moments of a young woman's life caught on camera and sent out to friends on Snapchat. Shania McNeil is driving but clearly distracted, veering into oncoming traffic, urged on by her passengers Hazel Wildman and Fader Hunter. Just after friends opened their social media inboxes on early Sunday morning, this is what police were confronted with. A head-on collision on Richmond Road in Berkshire Park. McNeil couldn't be revived. Her friends and two men who were in the other car were taken to hospital.
It is a very silly thing to do, to distract the driver and to make sure that passengers are well aware of their responsibilities of being in a motor vehicle.
The video is now the centre of the police investigation.
The disturbing thing about the video is the distraction. Anything in a vehicle that takes the driver away from the attention of being eyes on the road and eyes watching cars coming in the way is a potentially fatal situation. In this case, it appears it was.
The surviving young women didn't appear too fazed, though, posing for selfies in hospital, again posting them on Snapchat. Police are yet to speak to the passengers, 23-year-old Hazel Wildman, who is still recovering here at Westmead Hospital, and 20-year-old Fader Hunter, who was discharged today.
Wait, turn it on again.
Police are also investigating whether drugs and alcohol may have been a factor. Tom Saker, 7 News.
There's a manhunt underway tonight for two thieves who held up a Western Sydney service station at gunpoint. Police believe they may have targeted the same business just a week ago and believe they're out there somewhere still armed and dangerous.
A desperate and daring thief barrels into the Metro service station at Bonnyrigg demanding cash. Fearing for his life, the solo staff member follows orders, giving the gunman what he wants.
I understand he was quite shaken up by the incident.
All this while drivers are filling up.
I'd describe it as very confronting for members of the public to see.
The unwanted customer gets away with $1,000. His accomplice is waiting outside in a getaway car. Their victim called for help and goes over the ordeal with police. And detectives believe these suspects are familiar with the Bonnyrigg business, investigating whether they're also responsible for an earlier hit on Easter Sunday. Similar gun, similar time, uncanny characteristics.
Detectives are trying to establish if those two offences are linked.
Nearby businesses are on edge.
The fact that someone has a gun, that's scary. You just don't know.
On both occasions, the staff members were left shaken but uninjured. The attendant from the Easter Sunday robbery was too traumatised to return to work. He quit the following day. His colleagues hoping the men responsible will be caught before they return again. Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
A primary school teacher has undergone emergency surgery after being stabbed multiple times with a pair of scissors, not by a student but allegedly by a student's mother. The school in Byron Bay went into lockdown, police later charging a 31-year-old woman.
The kids and parents call him Mr. V, a gentle, caring teacher, the last, they say, to deserve this.
Mr. V is a wonderful soul and we are all very sad for his experience and praying for his recovery.
Zane Vogler had just arrived at Byron Bay Public School around 7 this morning when he was confronted by an armed school mum who spoke to him, then allegedly attacked, stabbing the 28-year-old in the face and arms with a pair of scissors. The 31-year-old woman took off. A manhunt began as primary school students arrived for their first day of term 2.
At first, my initial reaction, I was shocked and worried for my children.
I've got 2 children in the school and they've been locked down in the hall and I knew nothing about it.
It was locked down for almost 4 hours until the accused attacker was found at her nearby home. Locals say recently they'd had serious concerns about the woman's mental health. She'd been aggressive. One neighbour claims she damaged his car last week by hitting it with a brick. When officers arrived this morning, she was sitting in her backyard. She spent hours being questioned by police. It's understood her son attends the school but isn't in her custody.
I think it's really important that no one speculates. I think people should basically just have compassion.
While a young teacher who recently celebrated his engagement undergoes surgery.
And reporter Sarah Greenouch is in Byron Bay for us tonight. Sarah, do authorities know what led to the attack?
Well, Mark, police tell us that more details about the attack and the motive are likely to be revealed tomorrow when this 31-year-old woman faces court in Tweed Heads. Tonight, she remains in police custody, having been refused bail. As for the teacher, Mr. Vogler, who is incredibly popular, he is in a stable condition in hospital. Other staff and students from the school are being offered counselling.
OK, Sarah, thank you. One Nation's chances of the federal election have been severely dented, with a leading Senate candidate forced to quit the race over a strip club scandal. Steve Dixon's behaviour was described by Pauline Hanson as disgusting, as leaders of the major parties remain locked in debate.
Copping a serve is all part of life on the campaign trail for Scott Morrison, as Pauline Hanson faces a controversy she can't bat back.
Steve's language and behaviour was unacceptable.
Advisor and Queensland Senate candidate Steve Dixon resigning from the party after this.
Yeah, I think I need to do that.
Secretly filmed groping and making lewd and derogatory remarks to a stripper in a Washington club during Al Jazeera's Cash for Guns sting. His excuse? He was drunk and not in control of his actions.
Well, Steve Dixon's made a complete goose of himself and he's gone. He's got no future in politics.
Not enough to change the Nationals' preference deal with One Nation.
You have to do what it takes to get votes and to win at an election.
Preferences were a fiery topic in last night's Leaders' debate on 7.
There's an election on. You've got to decide where you put your preferences. Bill Shorten and his team, they tried to get Clive Palmer's preferences.
Rubbish. Clashing too over climate policy.
What is the cost of his emissions reductions policies?
I mean, this issue about give us one number, I don't think that's possible to do.
And franking credits.
You said no pensioners were affected.
Well, in Ron's circumstance...
No, you didn't qualify it. You don't get to slink away from it like you did on the press conference the other day and say you didn't hear the question properly.
Our audience scored Mr. Shorten the winner. Other opinion, breaking along party lines.
Well, Bill smashed Morrison. That's what was so good. Yeah. Smashed it.
Oh, you actually won it, I think, in my view. Anyway.
The debate that really matters is what happens out here on the streets. The candidates now have less than 3 weeks to convince people of their arguments. Although Bill Shorten's climate change metaphor today was a little difficult to digest.
But if you had a friend who was perhaps on the large side, the chubby side, and they had 10 Big Macs a day, yes, there's a cost to not eating the Big Macs.
You lost the plot. I think that's jumping the shark territory on this question.
When clear messaging is the real ball game.
And our political editor Mark Riley joins me now from Perth. Mark, we're past the campaign halfway point now. How do you think each camp is travelling?
Well, Mark, I think that Leaders' debate last night might be quite a pivotal moment, irrespective of who you think won it. Bill Shorten certainly emerged from it with a greater level of confidence, and Labor is still ahead in the polls, although having spent time with both camps now, I can tell you that Scott Morrison is a very good campaigner on the ground. The only question is how much that will account for come May 18. He starts a long way behind in their primary vote recall the coalition is stuck around 37 of 38. Needs to be 40 plus really to have any chance on May 18. But 2.5 weeks to go and they're going to give it everything. That's pretty clear, Mark.
OK, Mark Riley in Perth. Thank you. She wrote in her diary that stress made her do terrible things, but today serial killer Kathleen Folbig denied that was an admission that she'd harmed her 4 children. Her diary entries helped convict her 16 years ago. Now they're at the centre of a judicial inquiry which she hopes will clear her name.
Kathleen Folbig ushered into court to talk about her darkest secrets, diary entries she never wanted anyone to read, that led to her being jailed for killing her 4 babies, Caleb, Patrick, Sarah and Laura. Now an inquiry is re-examining every word. She claimed when she wrote "stress made me do terrible things," she wasn't referring to violence.
The terrible things were the killing of your children.
No. She said she was depressed and believed she'd failed as a mother.
I had in my head a belief that my moods affected everything. They affected my children. My children then died and decided they didn't wish to be with me anymore. It was quite a warped view.
Babies don't decide whether or not to live.
Craig Folbig, the father of the 4 children, was also in court as his barrister Margaret Caneen grilled his ex-wife over the disturbing diaries, including the entry, "I really needed him to wake that morning and take over from me," written just before Laura died. Folbig denied she was in a murderous mood.
That there's an extra pair of eyes, an extra guardian, an extra to prevent any such thing as me finding and discovering my children as I did the last 3 times.
An extra pair of eyes and an extra guardian to prevent you taking the life of your child.
No.
Kathleen Folbig will continue giving evidence for a 3rd day tomorrow. She's the final witness to be called in this inquiry, which may be the convicted murderer's last chance to clear her name. Ashley Hansen, 7 News.
A man has been beaten in the head with a hammer during a wild brawl in Chinatown overnight. Dozens of men and women were involved, the whole incident captured by security cameras.
12:30 this morning in Chinatown, and punches are thrown as an all-in brawl breaks out between more than 20 people.
I saw 1 people injured. One of them smashed a guy into the wall.
A 19-year-old man was thrown headfirst into a building. Then somewhere in the fighting, someone pulled out a hammer and hit him over the head. When it was all over, the victim was left bleeding with a 5-centimetre cut to his head and suspected skull fracture.
I don't know why. So I come out and I see lots of people is fighting.
When it was over, the attackers took off, leaving the man bleeding in the street. Paramedics bandaged his head, and this morning detectives returned to the scene. This security video now crucial evidence.
The victim spent today undergoing scans here in hospital, but authorities expect he will recover. They also think the 2 groups met up with the intention of violence.
They all wear masks to cover their faces. Some of them have different kind of hair colors, so probably easier to identify.
Police want them to come forward before they come knocking. Andrew Denny, 7 News.
The fare regulator has opened the door for more expensive journeys on the new metro, the light rail and on-demand buses. 7 News can also reveal our trains have failed to meet on-time running targets in 4 of the past 6 months.
The government promised the metro and is about to deliver. Passengers have also been promised metro trips will cost the same as other trains. But today the fare regulator revealed it's considering a different charge for the driverless trains and the new light rail.
It's clear that the government wants to see a price hike for fares for metro and for light rail.
An issue especially along the South West Metro, which will replace the existing train line at Bankstown. IPART writing, we would need to consider the cost impact of setting different fares for passengers. The government says it's committed to keeping metro fares the same as existing trains and can reject IPART recommendations. The North West Metro opens next month, the stretch through Central to Bankstown in 5 years. Before then, though, the government has real issues getting its existing services to run on time. Over the past 6 months, the monthly peak hour on-time target of 92% has been missed 4 times, and we're on the verge of missing it again for April. Even the more generous new measure of customers on time reveals that for some months, customers haven't been.
We realise we've got to make the service even more reliable. 22 new trains out there.
Sean Berry, 7 News.
We have shocking photographs now showing the extent of the injury suffered by a female police officer after she was attacked by a man she was trying to help. The 22-year-old constable was allegedly scratched, bitten and had some of her hair pulled out by Tony Sazdanovsky in Brighton Le Sands on Sunday. He was on parole at the time and is now facing a number of serious charges. Almost 1 million households and small businesses paying too much for electricity because they're loyal to a provider are about to see their bills fall. The regulator has stepped in, setting a new default market price that could save them up to $900 a year.
867,000 customers in New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia are paying far too much for their electricity.
You're likely on a standing offer, and that does have that loyalty tax to it. That's what this decision does.
By applying a default market price for power, from July 1st, residential customers in New South Wales will save up to $180 a year, $118 for South East Queensland and $171 in South Australia. Small business will save up to $878 a year in New South Wales, $457 in Queensland and $896 in South Australia. These savings apply to the 15% who don't shop around for the best deals. These estimated savings pale in comparison to the average household electricity bill in New South Wales, now almost $1,700 a year, even more for businesses and local councils. But one bright spark has an idea that could save everyone a small fortune. Michael Mobbs disconnected his home from the grid in 2015 and now rents it out.
There is now a 5-person household with 3 young children. They're saving over $3,000 hard cash every year.
For the rest of us, we can save
either by calling your existing retailer or visiting the Energy Made Easy website.
Brian Seymour, 7 News.
Australian cricketer James Faulkner has been forced to clarify a controversial Instagram post where he appeared to out himself as gay. The story quickly made worldwide headlines before Faulkner tried to explain it was all a huge misunderstanding.
This is how a humble birthday bash makes international headlines. A historic moment, apparently Australia's first professional male gay cricketer.
He's posted on Instagram a photo of his boyfriend Rob.
It really is genuinely a landmark moment.
We have checked them and it stacks up and it's all over the news there, but it looks good.
Last night, James Faulkner posted this photo captioned "Dinner with the boyfriend", #together for 5 years. Happy birthday, mate, great courage, fellow cricketer Glenn Maxwell wrote. Former Test fast bowler Sean Tate also chimed in, "Great courage, mate, bet you feel better."
He's bowled him. It's a hat-trick for Faulkner.
The boyfriend is actually Faulkner's business partner, Rob Jubb. They've been housemates for 5 years. A proud gay suburban footballer, Jason Ball, says coming out was one of the hardest things he's ever done, and the post was no joke.
It's not something that should be ridiculed or made fun of, even whether it's accidental or not.
Faulkner clarified the post 14 hours later, saying he is not gay, but was thankful for the outpouring of support. Cricket Australia released a statement saying the post was not a joke and was a genuine reflection of his relationship with the business partner, best friend and housemate of 5 years.
If a player were to come out, they would be welcomed by the community, by the sporting world, by cricket fans.
Melina Saris, 7 News.
Time now for a check on our weather. Brownie, it's been a superb day.
Yeah, spot on, Fergo, and warm too for this time of year. Mid-20s right across the metro area today. We had 24.3 degrees in the city. 25.4 was recorded at Penrith. Now, it's been a warm month overall, according to Bureau data. Having said that, April last year was in fact warmer. Unfortunately, the rains failed. Only 11 millimetres was recorded in the city. As we can see, the average is 127 millimetres. Driest April in 13 years for most of the metro area. That said, a wet start to May is building for large parts of our state. This dark green zone highlights 25 to 50 millimetres of rain. A lot less is expected in our backyard. And, of course, I'll have a detailed 7-day forecast, top of the hour, Fergo.
I like the look of that map, Brownie. Thank you. They've spent nearly 2 years waiting. Now the heartbroken family of Justine Damon-Ruzcek could finally get the justice they deserve. That's next. Plus, arson fears after a university building was ravaged by fire. Chilling video, the leader of Islamic State shows his face for the first time in 5 years. NRL star Josh Reynolds speaks exclusively about the personal tragedy that left him contemplating retirement. And later, food for thought, which supermarket chain has been named Australia's healthiest. Welcome back. Firefighters have spent the night containing a blaze at a university in Wagga. The fire broke out around 6 last night, ripping through a building at Charles Sturt University's southern campus. The old Teachers' College was in the process of being demolished. An investigation is underway into how the fire started. After weeks of evidence, a jury is now deciding the fate of the former US police officer who killed Sydney woman Justine Damon-Ruzcek. Mohammed Noor's lawyer argued the shooting was tragic but not a crime, while prosecutors said there was no reason for Justine to be gunned down by a cop she'd called for help.
For Justine's family, her fiancé, it's been a nearly 2-year wait for justice. Today, the wait was for Mohammed Noor to clear security before they could go in to hear final arguments. Mr. Plunkett, have you done enough to convince the jury? Noor's lawyer dramatically reenacted what he says happened the night Justine died. A bang on the police car. Partner Matthew Harrity yelling, looking scared, struggling to get his gun as someone at the window raises their hand. With a split second to react, Noor reaches across and fires. The reasonable action of a trained officer, argued his attorney. If there had been a gun in that hand, Mr. Noor would be a hero. But the prosecution says deadly force was unjustified. All Justine did was walk up to the police car she had called for. Noor's story changed during the trial and differed from Harrity's, who was closer to Justine, could see better, but did not fire because he hadn't identified a threat. Noor was trained to shoot, to kill. He intended she die from that shot. If found guilty of manslaughter or murder, Mohammed Noor faces anything from 3 to 40 years jail. The judge acknowledged the pain and stress that Justine's and Mohammed Noor's families must be going through, that it would be heartbreaking for both, thanking them for their dignity and grace. If there's one thing both sides agreed on, this was a tragedy, and now the jury will decide on justice. In Minneapolis, Paul Kadak, 7 News.
The leader of Islamic State has shown his face for the first time in 5 years in a chilling propaganda video. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi acknowledged defeat in the group's last stronghold in Syria, but said it has increased their rage. He also commended the Sri Lanka Easter bombings. The 18-minute clip is the first time Bakr al-Baghdadi has spoken publicly since 2014. Japan has ushered in a new era with Emperor Akihito abdicating his throne after 31 years. In a rare move, the 85-year-old felt it was time to step aside and pass the symbolic role to his son Naruhito. It was the first time in the modern era a woman was allowed to be present at the sacred ceremony. Rugby League champion Josh Reynolds has spoken about the personal tragedy that almost ended his playing career. Mel McLaughlin is here and Mel Reynolds has opened up about the ordeal.
He has, Fergo. It's been a tough time. An emotional Josh Reynolds has revealed the heartbreak of losing twin boys just weeks before his partner was due to give birth. In an exclusive interview with 7 News, the former Bulldog and now West Tigers star says it's important to speak up.
Josh Reynolds has endured a horror run with injuries that's tested him. But nothing could prepare him and his partner Bella for the devastation of losing not one child, but 2.
When I found out we were having twin boys, I was over the moon. I was ready to take that step.
Just weeks out from their pending arrival, Bella lost both babies.
Just having everything there, it was in a room just down there, and we sort of had it all set up.
Before the heartbreak, Josh and Bella were excited first-time parents.
Today's the big reveal day. And we're a better place to do it, where it all started, Clinton Park.
But then Josh and Bella's world collapsed.
It's made me deal with something in life that I didn't think I'd ever have to deal with. It was something in life that I've always wanted. I've sort of had to go along the lines of everything happens for a reason.
The loss of the twins and more injuries almost saw him quit the game.
I didn't know how to deal with it.
There were far bigger priorities for Josh than his NRL career, including a grieving mother-to-be.
How do I comfort her when I'm pretty struggling myself? And because it is a lot harder, I think, for females, because they go through it, it's growing inside them. And yeah, I was really shocked, and but I really wanted to, I suppose, be a man and be there for her.
Michelle Bishop, 7 News.
And I'll be back soon with the rest of the day's sport, including more league. Yesterday, Wayne Bennett opened up. Today, Darius Boyd did the same about their bond and the circus that descended around the Broncos last year. Plus, relief for Steve Smith after a big injury scare as he prepares to wrap things up in the IPL and meet up with his Aussie teammates. And Fergo, our thanks to Josh and Bella for being so open and having a chat with us, and we wish them well.
Yeah, very brave and very important
brave.
words.
Yep.
Good on you, Mel. Thank you. An accused pervert has fronted court over claims he filmed a woman inside a toilet cubicle. Next, we question the French national as he tries to skip the blame. More charges laid over an alleged plan to use Sydney taxis to deliver cocaine. The Boeing boss refuses to admit fault over 2 fatal crashes. And how a simple walk could improve brain function for older Australians. Welcome back. Another taxi driver has been arrested accused of being involved in a criminal syndicate transporting cocaine across Sydney. Tonight he's behind bars as police look to make further arrests.
He's a husband and father who works as a cabbie, but Wissam Audi is accused of having another job too, moonlighting as a delivery driver, earning an extra $400 a day.
He's absorbing everything, and we'll be back here on Friday for a further bail application.
His taxi abandoned after being intercepted by police. Audi was pulled over around the corner from Bankstown Police Station and is alleged to have made full admissions to detectives of delivering cash between buyer and supplier. His wife and brother left to literally pick up the pieces. Audi is the 5th person charged under Operation Trident, which was formed to investigate organised crime. Its target, a cocaine syndicate operating in Sydney southwest. All alleged members are taxi drivers. Raids have already been carried out at Bankstown, Bass Hill, Campsie and Rhodes. Police have so far seized cash, weapons and drugs. More arrests are imminent. The magistrate informed Wissam Audi there was no way he'd be granting him bail, but would consider it if he received confirmation he was helping police with their inquiries. He'll find out if he is when the matter returns to court on Friday. Is he assisting authorities?
Can't comment on that.
Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
The death of a 14-month-old boy in Wagga is now being treated as a homicide. Kamal Bamblett was found unresponsive at a home in the suburb of Ashmont on Sunday, January the 13th. He was given CPR at the scene and taken to hospital, but was pronounced dead. Police are urging anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers. Police investigating a man who allegedly filmed a woman inside a toilet cubicle in Darlinghurst fear there may be more victims. The French national pleaded guilty to drug possession in court today, but claims otherwise he's an innocent man.
The 30-year-old Frenchman appeared to be genuinely surprised when asked about the dirty allegation.
What were you doing filming under the toilets, mate?
What?
What were you doing filming under the toilet?
It is a particularly distasteful accusation. Around 1 a.m. last Saturday, Murdy Garci is accused of slipping his mobile phone under the cubicle wall of the women's toilets at the Burdekin Hotel in Darlinghurst, videoing a 29-year-old woman as she used the facilities.
It's extremely invasive. A young lady on the toilet at the time, it's the last thing she should expect.
While today Murdy Garci had a spring in his step, perhaps thankful to be on bail, police praised the alleged victim for taking quick action, calling for help from security on the weekend.
We want to actually congratulate her for being so brave in a situation that I stated was embarrassing.
Security stopped the man from leaving the hotel. When police arrived, they searched him and found a small amount of cannabis. They took his mobile phone to see what videos and photos were there.
Now officers are appealing for anyone else who noticed suspicious behaviour like this on the weekend to tell police.
We are looking through the male's phone. We're looking for if he has done this again on the night.
Garci will be back in court in June. Evan Batten, 7 News.
Virgin Australia has postponed its order of the troubled Boeing 737 MAX aircraft for 6 years, saying the American company needs time to restore faith in safety. The aircraft manufacturer's CEO was trying to do that today, fronting angry shareholders for the first time since 2 catastrophic crashes.
Exactly 6 months after the first of 2 deadly crashes, Boeing's CEO faced the music.
346 people died. Can you answer a few questions here about that?
Dennis Muhlenberg, in his first public appearance since those deaths, praying.
Please join me in a moment of silence.
Then finally apologising.
All of us at Boeing are deeply sorry for the loss of life. We feel the immense gravity of these events.
Shareholders feel it too, consumed by the greatest crisis to hit the aviation giant in decades. 2 crashes, a fleet grounded, a $1 billion hit.
You don't have to have 300 plus people die every time to find out that something is unreliable.
The company now says safety will be its #1 priority. But for many, the damage to Boeing's reputation is done. The MAX 737 fleet remains grounded worldwide, but Boeing is urgently working on a software fix. Its final test flight is expected next week, but America's aviation authority will have to sign off on the upgrade before the planes can return to the sky. Some customers can't wait. Virgin Australia has deferred delivery of the troubled model until 2025.
It will mean that our first MAX order is in July 2021, being a MAX 10.
In the United States, Amelia Brace, 7 News.
It's no secret that walking 30 minutes each day is good for your overall health. Now, a new study says a morning walk can improve your brain function too. Researchers from the University of Western Australia found men and women aged between 55 and 80 had significantly better cognitive health. After a brisk walk in the morning, their memory and learning had improved for as long as 8 hours. Despite plenty of recent controversy, Alan Jones and Ray Hadley have kept 2GB at #1 in the latest radio ratings. Overall, GB claimed 14.5%. Smooth FM was second on 9.5%, with Kiss FM, the ABC, WSFM and Nova making up the top 6. In the breakfast slot, Jones remained Sydney's favourite on 16.4%. Kiss FM's Kyle and Jackie O also improved, followed by the ABC. Most of us are trying to live healthier lives, but is where you shop key to beating the bulge? Next, we reveal which supermarket chain has the healthiest food. Charity workers roll up their sleeves to help a war veteran in need. The new age device that could help you slash your power bills.
Driest April in 13 years is drawing to a close, but the rains are coming. Details soon.
Checking finance now, and the ASX 200 fell 34 points. It was dragged down by the big miners as the Chinese economy disappointed and metal prices were weak across the board. And one Aussie dollar is buying 70.42 US cents. Fuel prices are falling across Sydney. The average is $1.45.6 a litre. We found unleaded for $1.34.9 at Villawood. Coles shopping website has just come back online after being out of action since Sunday. Customers were becoming increasingly frustrated. The supermarket blamed internal software and has apologised to shoppers. The website became operational again late this afternoon. Coles has offered customers with Flybuy accounts a $15 voucher as compensation. A supermarket study of more than 30,000 products has ranked Woolworths #1 for those keen to eat well. The result follows a tally of Health Star ratings for private label brands, which are now the key point of difference between the big chains.
The supermarket shelves are often a struggle for those trying to trim the waistline and the budget.
We've got 2/3 of adults and 1/4 of children who are overweight or obese.
Now, researchers have analysed more than 30,000 grocery items and their Health Star ratings, finding A2 Sanitarium and Nudie are the most nutritious brands on supermarket shelves, while, surprise, surprise, Bundaberg drinks and Cadbury chocolates were among the worst.
This day and age, is it reasonable for us just to be selling, a product range that is this unhealthy?
But the big finding was on booming private label brands, with Woolworths deemed healthiest, averaging more than 3 health stars, and Coles not far behind. Aldi, with an entire shop of own brands, now trails the big two, while IGA is the least healthy of the lot.
There's been an investment in quality of the private label brands.
Private labels are the new battleground in the supermarket price war, as Coles and Woolworths beef up their offerings to play Aldi at its own game. Coles now stocks 30% of its shelves with its own brands, with plans to make that 40% in the coming years.
The days around private label being the cheap option have changed, and it's now the better value option, if you like.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Legacy volunteers extended a helping hand to Afghanistan war veteran Nicky Highland today. He's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Diggers, servicemen and women joined together for a massive clean-up at the Western Soldiers Sydney home. He was injured by an explosion during his service.
We're hoping that it gives them a clean start, something to maintain that's easy and not be discouraged with a lot of work in front of them.
It's estimated more than 1 in 10 Australians suffers from some form of PTSD. As power prices soar, paying our bills can be a struggle, but an Aussie-made device can help you shop around, matching your home with the cheapest plan. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News. But now Mel is back with sport, and the Swans season seems to go from bad to worse.
It looks that way at the moment, Fergo. They're already struggling on the field, and the news isn't great on the injury front for their superstar. Details up next. Plus, Dave Warner farewells the IPL in style, but he says the secret to his success has had nothing to do with cricket. And Ben Simmons shows he's more than a one-trick pony in Game 2 of Philly's Eastern Conference semi-finals. Welcome back. Wayne Bennett's most devoted player, Darius Boyd, says he urged the master coach to leave the Broncos as his spat with power brokers descended into a circus. Boyd says the media scrutiny became unbearable for the players and says both Brisbane and Souths have benefited from the coach swap.
The most successful coach of all time waged war with Brisbane bosses. The Broncos couldn't sustain another season of turmoil with Wayne Bennett.
I just think with Wayne being here, it probably would have been a bit of a circus again, as it was a bit last year, and Wayne understood that and he knew that as well, so I think it worked out well for both parties.
Cody Nicorima's played his last game for Brisbane. The Warriors will double his pay with a $1.5 million deal.
At the end of the day, it is a business, and you always got to look after your family. The club will look after their best interests, and the players got to do the same.
18-year-old Thomas Dearden will be thrown straight into the furnace, making his NRL debut against the Bunnies on Thursday night.
They might try and target him. We might try and target their halves. I think every half gets targeted now.
Tavita Pangai Jr. is expected to play despite missing training.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a cold. She doesn't train when it's when she's feeling a bit off, so hopefully he'll be here tomorrow.
With $3.5 million worth of playing talent on the injured list, Cronulla's bracing for the Storm on Friday night.
On the weekend we had, I think, 3 18-year-olds playing in the game, and I was quite shocked, to be honest. I felt very old, so I felt like Paul Gallen, to be honest.
Gareth Widdop's recovering from his third dislocated shoulder in 5 games. The Dragons captain is hopeful of returning before the finals.
In saying that, I won't be rushing back. I'll be making sure, I get everything right first, because obviously it's happened in the past before.
Liam Cox, 7 News.
Well, speaking of injuries, Daly Cherry Evans had surgery on his injured ankle today. It leaves him in severe doubt for Origin 1 in 6 weeks' time. But Manly teammates think they'll be okay without their captain.
He's going all right. He's obviously a bit down. We almost nearly played better without him, to be honest. I don't know why. It might have just made us lift a bit more. I know it sounds bad, but it made us just probably concentrate a bit more.
With Josh Reynolds out, Benji Marshall returns for the Tigers' clash with the Roosters. Latrell Mitchell did not train today but was named at centre, with Luke Keary back from concussion. The Swans' horror start to the AFL season continues. Lance Franklin has been ruled out for his second straight game with a hamstring strain. Sydney are 1 from 6 and face the Lions in Brisbane on Saturday.
He's had a limited pre-season, age, all those things come into it, and we decided not to take the risk, and it's just too big a risk to take.
Lachie Whitfield's likely to miss the Giants' clash with St Kilda in Canberra with his cork, but there's better news on Stephen Coniglio's dislocated finger.
We've avoided surgery, which is fantastic. He's probably more likely to play than not play.
Phil Davis is likely after his ankle sprain. David Warner says he's returning to the Australian cricket team this week, a better player and man. Warner signed off on his Indian Premier League campaign with 81 in Hyderabad's 45-run victory over Punjab. He is the tournament's leading run scorer with 692 from 12 innings. The former Aussie vice-captain changed his focus during the 12-month ball tampering ban.
I've had a lot of time off to try and work harder at my game. I put the bat down for a good 16 to 18 weeks and just worked hard of being the best dad I could be and being the best husband, and I think that's worked for me.
Warner returns home to join Australia's World Cup training camp in Brisbane from Thursday. And a relieved Steve Smith confirmed his elbow is okay after a scare in Rajasthan's previous game. Smith felt sharp pain after taking a diving catch, but it was due to scar tissue from his recent surgery.
Yeah, just the impact of the landing just affected a little bit, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's all good.
Smith will play his last game for the Royals tonight before joining the Aussie training camp. Ben Simmons has become the 76ers' defensive problem solver. Simmons had just 6 points in 44 minutes in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference semis against the Raptors, but he was focused on the near-impossible job of guarding Toronto's gun, Kawhi Leonard.
Ben Simmons defensively on point there, but Kawhi just physically too strong.
Simmons restricted Leonard to 35 points. The Sixers won 94-89, and it's 1-1. Very interesting times indeed, but great to see Simmons doing so well, and great news for Warner and Smith too.
Rejoining the camp?
Yes.
Almost back to full strength?
Looking good.
Good on you, Mel. Thank you. An Aussie inventor is playing the electricity giants at their own game with a new device that monitors your usage, then matches you to the best power plan. The device tracks a home's unique energy usage pattern, then cross-references it with every available offer on the market.
With power bills arcing at $3,000 plus a year, a light bulb moment led to this family transforming their energy habits with this new age device.
Just by changing our energy plan alone, we'll save $487 a year.
The Aussie invention is taking on the raft of energy comparison websites, assessing not just how much power a household consumes, but when it's being used. In peak times, your charges can quadruple.
Households typically don't have that data. They don't know when they're using energy, at what time of the day. It's very hard for them then to go and try and compare energy plans. Now it's starting to monitor your power usage every 5 seconds.
Over a few weeks, Ember Pulse technology analyses the home's usage across the day, then matches it with the cheapest plan.
They're comparing over 5,000 energy plans Australia-wide, whereas on the websites you're comparing basically just a handful.
It automatically switches you to your ideal plan every 6 months. The device is more beneficial for homes fitted with newer meters that can take advantage of off-peak rates. At $499 installed, the device isn't cheap. Savvy homeowners could essentially do it themselves by regularly reviewing their plan using the government's comparison website, Energy Made Easy. Helen Wellings, 7 News.
David joins us once again with the latest forecast. Brownie, what's in store for the first week of May?
Rain, Fergo, and lots of it west of the Great Dividing Range, but I'll have your local weather straight after the break.
Where are you going today? To the front line, to the defining events. Anytime, all the time, we'll take you there. 7news.com.au. Happening now. To shop. Pay to eat the best food. They'll even pay for your doctor and dentist visits.
I do enjoy shopping and nice pocket money.
You get cash to do what you already do.
Anyone that's a normal customer can become a mystery shopper.
They're recruiting now. Exclusive details on 7 News tomorrow.
Tonight's 7 News headlines: chilling mobile phone vision of a young woman moments before the crash that claimed her life. Workers traumatised after a masked gunman carried out service station robberies in Western Sydney. And Pauline Hanson's candidate blames the drink for his behaviour at a strip club. Now, with the very latest on Sydney's weather, here's David.
Thanks very much, Fergo. Well, it's warm close to a warm April, 2 degrees above the long-term norm. Rains are lining up the western parts of our state, and that we'll see in the first day of May. At Observatory Hill, the mercury climbed from a low of 15.1 degrees to a top of 24.3, and that happened by early afternoon. Mid-20s this afternoon as across the metro areas we had some high-level cloud just sailing in from the west, heralding a change is on the way. In fact, as we go to our weather eye in the sky, we can see that high cloud that's been building across our state. Upstream is all part of this rather complex change that's driving areas of rain and, well, storm activity across South Australia. The system will eventually bring some of this to our state. In fact, the rain is forecast to sweep into our state during the wee hours of tomorrow morning, building over the west and gradually drifting towards the Great Dividing Range. Our model paints the following rainfall totals. We're looking at totals accumulating over the next 4 days. The dark green zone indicates, well, falls of around 25 to 50 millimetres, but as you can see along the coast, we're only expecting just a few teasing drops. If you are travelling interstate tomorrow, a few more showers are likely in Brisbane under this unstable east to southeasterly air stream and a top of around 26 degrees. Melbourne, rain at times unfolding during the afternoon. A storm is possible, around 21 degrees. Cooler in Adelaide, some passing showers, 19. Perth, fine, and a forecast top of around 20 degrees. Back home, we can see the areas of rain and thunderstorm activity developing in the west and gradually drifting towards the ranges. Isolated showers continuing just along parts of the north coast, and temperatures, well, much like today. For the suburbs, I think we'll see some early fog in the greater western first thing, and a fine day to follow, although rather cloudy. Temperatures ranging generally around the mid-20s by early afternoon. Coastal waters, rather rough seas. We've got a northerly. It's expected to run at around about 20 to 25 knots for most of the day. For the city, the first day of May should look like this. Cloudy, 25 degrees, and remaining dry. Let's move on to that 7-day forecast now. A similar day should unfold on Thursday. Friday, different story. Rain at times, the odd storm is likely. As for the weekend, just the odd coastal shower or two. So that's the latest weather. Mel and Fergo.
Bring on the rain in the bush, Brownie.
Indeed.
Thank you. That is 7 News for this Tuesday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening. I'm Mark Ferguson from all the team. I hope you have a great night.
7news.com.au. Happening now.